How in the world can you go from severe diabetes to no diabetes in 3 short months? Is that even possible? Yes, as a matter of fact, it is, and I'll interview a guest on today's edition of Beat Diabetes who experienced this amazing transformation. His doctor was pushing him to begin taking insulin injections, but Tyler was determined to find a better way, and boy, did he. Well, I am so happy and blessed to have a wonderful man by the name of Tyler Smith with me on the phone, and we are going to do a little interview with Tyler. Tyler has had some very significant diabetic problems, and he has found some answers, and I love that. I just love to hear from people that have found some answers. Tyler, welcome to the Beat Diabetes channel.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Okay, great. Tyler, tell us first of all what you do for a living.
Okay, I run a cabinetry business right outside of Atlanta in Stockbridge, Georgia. And I live on a 20-acre Christmas tree farm. That my mom and dad, they run the Christmas trees. And then me, my wife, and my brother, we run a cabinetry business that services the apartment communities throughout Atlanta. We've been doing this for 32 years now, and it's been very good to us.
Well, that is great. I always admire people that are skillful with their hands, and it sounds like you must be to have a cabinetry business.
Well, it started out as a hobby, and then it ended up being a business, so, you know, the rest is history.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about diabetes. Obviously, the fact that I'm interviewing you means that you've had some struggles in that area. So take us back, Tyler, to where you first realized you had some problems. How many years does that go back, and what was it that tipped you off that you had some problems?
Well, about 10 years ago, I'm 60 years old now, and about 10 years ago, you know, I go to the doctor every year for a physical. And one of my visits about 10 years ago, they said, well, Mr. Smith, you know, you're a pre-diabetic. And not knowing anything about diabetes, you know, I didn't do a whole lot of, you know, to change my diets or anything. And started cutting back somewhat, you know, on sugars, but I did not eliminate them from my diet. And so that lasted 2 or 3 years. And then I went back to the doctor and they said, well, Mr. Smith, you are now a type 2 diabetic.
Within a space of 2 or 3 years?
About 2 or 3 years after they diagnosed me as a pre-diabetic. And so then they started piling on the meds, you know, the medications.
And what were those medications?
Well, one of them was the metformin. Another one was like a Trigenta, some sort of medicine. And then there was a really bad one that they started giving me that was called glypiride, you know.
Now, why do you call that a bad one?
Well, because of what it does to you. What it does is it squeezes your pancreas to get every bit of insulin it can get, and it drives your blood sugar down. And it doesn't care how far it goes down. It just keeps, you know, driving it down and down. So you will have episodes where your blood sugar is very, very low. And that's kind of dangerous too, from what I've learned.
Sure, it can be. So you are having situations where your blood sugar was actually too low. Apparently the medicine was doing what it was supposed to, almost too well.
Yeah, it did what it was supposed to do. And, you know, but I still wasn't acting like a diabetic. I did not know how to act like a diabetic. You know, my wife and my son, they're not diabetics, and so they enjoy the normal foods that I really wasn't supposed to be having. But of course, I come home and dinner's ready. I'm not going to complain. You know, I'm going to have dinner with them.
So were you relying pretty much on the medicine? You figured, well, I'm taking the medicine, that should take care of things, and you didn't think you really needed to do much more? Is that the idea?
Exactly right. I was taking the medicine and I was thinking, okay, well, I took my medicine, now I can have a pizza or I can have spaghetti. You know, whatever was being served that night, I would eat it, you know, and apparently that isn't the way it works. You know, when they tell you you got to take these meds with diet and exercise, that's the truth. You really have to do that. And I never really committed myself to acting like a diabetic, you know. I just kind of took the pills and lived a normal life is what I was doing.
How long did that go on for?
That went on, you know, for about 4 or 5 years. And my blood sugar kept going up, and it was slowly, though. It was very slowly. You know, each time I went back to the doctor, you know, he would say, well, you need to continue these meds. And then he started increasing them. And you know, I even went to some diabetic classes that they held and kind of walked away with a little bit of information, but not enough information to really reverse the diabetes. I was still, you know, consuming way too much sugar and carbs, and, you know, really wasn't sure what I could safely eat. I was told to eat lots of vegetables and fruits and whole grain things, and, you know, and then go on a fat-free diet. And, you know, everything we were buying at the store was fat-free, and I was doing everything that I thought I was supposed to be doing. And yet my diabetes sugar levels, you know, they continue to rise.
Yeah, that's wild. That has been the standard advice. So you must have got a real old school doctor or dietitian or whoever it was advising you, because whole grains, fruits, fat-free, that was the old school advice going back about 30, 40 years. But if you go old school, it's a whole different story.
Well, you know, actually these doctors were kind of young. I was surprised, you know. I think that, you know, what it is, these doctors or these healthcare professionals, you know, they're not diabetics. Most of them aren't. And so they're just kind of reading a script, you know, eat more fruits, eat more vegetables, whole grain items, and, you know, that just wasn't working. You know, they mean well, but unless you are a diabetic, I don't think you know exactly what you should do, you know.
Yeah. So you're going along and following their advice relatively vigorously, and you're taking your meds, I guess about 3 different meds, and it's getting worse and worse. Apparently, at some point, something arrested you, and you knew you had to make a change from just going that same route. What was it that really got your attention?
Yeah, that happened last January. I went in after Christmas, after the holidays, for my regular 90-day visit, and you know, my AC1 was like 8.9. And they, you know, they were giving me all the pills that I could take, and I couldn't take any more. And finally they said, well, Mr. Smith, you know, you need to do injections. And the minute I heard that, I thought, wait a minute, I got to do something about this. You know, I do not want to start taking injections. So, you know, I didn't really know what to do at this point. I do remember going to a Super Bowl party with my family, and my sister, who is a dietitian, started asking her for advice on what to do. And, you know, I was telling her, you know, I'm trying to eat a sugar-free diet and or low-sugar diet, and she told me, well, you need to exercise more. And I says, well, I exercise once a week. You know, I have a little gym down in my basement, so I would go down there and exercise once a week. Well, she said, no, no, Tyler, you got to go down there and exercise every single day. So I thought, well, you know, didn't want to do that. That's just too much time. So I started walking, and bought myself a treadmill, and got on the treadmill and really started watching what I was eating at that point.
Now, how did that work for you? Did that make much of a difference?
Didn't make a whole lot of difference. It wasn't until one night, you know, I'm a car guy. I work on cars all the time, old cars, and I like fixing things. So one of my go-to devices is, of course, YouTube. So I don't know why, but I sat down at the computer one night and I typed in diabetes on YouTube. Up popped one of your videos, and I thought, well, that seems pretty cool. So I watched it. And of course, when you click on one video, you know, other videos come up. And so I started watching all your videos, and I just was amazed at how simplified you made the, you know, treating the diabetics such a controlling type thing that I could actually do. So I started sitting down with my wife, and both of us started watching these videos, and we started realizing at that point what we can and can't eat, and then, you know, how to go to the store and go shopping. One of the neatest things that me and my wife do now is we go to the store, and, you know, of course, we're looking at carbs and we're looking at sugar on each of the labels, and it's almost like a competition where we try to find the lowest carb, lowest sugar product, you know, out of everything at the store. And of course, anything that's sugar-free or low carb, low sugar is going to be at the very bottom, you know, of the shelf. It's not going to be up at eye level where all the sugary stuff is. And so, you know, by watching your videos, learning how to go to the store and look at the labels and look at the products, we soon realized where, you know, my mistake was being made at.
Yeah, now I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, but in many people's minds, when they think about fixing diabetes, they immediately think about the sugar bowl, they think about candy, but they don't really think about just total carbs. They don't think about starches or rice or potatoes or anything like that. Was that your case?
Yeah, I was told pretty much don't eat anything white. And, you know, I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, that's bread, that's rice, that's potatoes. Really wasn't sure of anything else other than that, you know. So, but I loved fruit, so I thought, well, I can eat a lot of fruit, and so what do? I go straight to the store and buy bananas and oranges and apples, and come to find out that stuff is loaded in sugar. But, you know, I guess it's moderation when it comes to fruit. But, yeah, I wasn't getting a lot of clear advice on what foods to eat and not eat, you know.
Now, were you testing your glucose at this point, you know, testing your blood sugar with a home device very often or at all?
Yeah, when they said I was type 2, I was handed a glucose machine. Didn't know what to do with it. I was told to check my blood sugar in the morning when I first get up. And so I would, you know, first thing in the morning before I had anything to eat or drink, I would check it, and it'd be high. It'd be like 150, 160, and this is when I just get up in the morning. So I went back to the doctor, and I says, "Doctor, why is my blood sugar so high if I haven't eaten all night long?" And he told me that the reason it's high in the morning is because your liver stores sugar all night long while you sleep. And then in the morning, to wake you up, it sends a burst of sugar into your bloodstream. And that made sense, you know, that, you know, I probably had a lot of sugar the night before, and it was holding that sugar till I wake up the next morning. Had no idea that you're supposed to check your glucose, you know, after a meal. Never was told that. You know, I was just always told check it in the morning.
So when you watched my videos, did you start doing that, checking your blood sugar after meals, and you?
Oh, after a meal, and you know, an hour and a half after you eat a meal, I would start checking it, and I would see what that meal did to me, and I was able to, well, that meal didn't hurt me at all, so I can safely, you know, eat that. Or it would be kind of high, and I'd say, well, I better not eat that meal too often. So it was a great tool to, you know, learn how to what to eat, what not to eat. You know, had no idea.
So when did you start getting the idea that this is actually working? I can see I'm going to be getting some results from this new lifestyle, the testing, the cutting out more carbs.
Well, you know, yeah, when I got that diagnosed in January, you know, I thought, oh my gosh. And then I saw your videos, and I started just watching the carbs, watching the sugar intake. And I mean, 2-3 weeks later, you know, it was hard to get over the first 2-3 weeks of no sugar. That was kind of tough. You know, I would find myself sneaking a little bit here and there. But as I saw the pounds start dropping off of me, and then my blood sugar levels coming way down, I knew I was onto something there. Yes.
Yeah. So you weren't really figuring on the weight loss. That was kind of a bonus surprise. Is that right?
That was. I was 30 pounds overweight. I should weigh 172. At that time, I was weighing 205. And it was a sugar belly, you know, right along my waistline. I had the average male, you know, middle-aged belly. And come to find out that was because of sugar. You know, that's the insulin, I guess, takes the sugar directly to your midsection and drops it off in hopes that one day you might use it, but chances are you probably never will. So, you know, that belly starts growing, and it was 30 pounds over, and I was shocked after the first 2 weeks of doing this low carb and just slamming the door on sugar. No sugar whatsoever. The pounds just started coming off. And before I knew it, 90 days later, I was 30 pounds lighter with a normal glucose reading.
Yeah. Let's go back to the A1c. You told us that the doctor had seen you were at 8.9, basically a 9. And that's when he was saying, you know, you're probably going to have insulin. And you started making the changes. You saw some of my videos. So 9 is very high. It's not just high, it's very high. You weren't just a diabetic, you were close to, I would call it a severe diabetic. 3 months have passed. You've changed your lifestyle. You're testing foods. You've cut out sugar. You've lowered the carbs. You go back to the doctor. What A1c does he discover when he runs that A1c test?
It was unbelievable. The minute I walked through the door, he knew right away I was doing something because I was so much thinner. But it had dropped to 5.3.
5.3.
In 3 months, I lost 30 pounds and cut my A1c to 5.3. And he was shocked. He was like, what have you been doing? And I told him, well, I've been following this guy on YouTube. His name is Dennis Pollock. And he wrote the name down real quick, and I'm sure he's looking at your videos right now. But yeah, everybody was shocked. My family is shocked that I've lost this weight and have my diabetes under control. My wife has been very helpful with me. You know, she's been on this, even though she's not a diabetic, she's been helping me along with the right kind of meals. And she would even like to lose a few pounds, and I think she's a little upset that I kind of lost them faster than she did, but, you know, she'll get on the right track too, so.
So how are you feeling, Tyler? Are you feeling good, generally speaking? I've
never felt better, Dennis. You know, my metabolism is through the roof. I think I can almost eat a kind of a normal meal now, and my body's ready for it. You know, it just takes it and it processes it, and it's not moving the meter very, very much, even if I eat kind of a high-carb meal. But I am still dieting, and, you know, now I'm starting to wonder, you know, at what point do I realize, okay, I'm at the weight I want to be at. Now, how do I maintain that? Because, of course, I don't want to keep losing weight. You know, I want to kind of keep it where it needs to be. But my energy level is through the roof. I feel like I'm in my 40s, and here I am, wow. 60 years old. Yes, sir.
That is so great. So, you know, and the interesting thing is, for a long time, it seems like
you just didn't have the motivation to make much change. And now you seem like the most motivated guy in the world.
Yeah, I enjoy talking diabetes with anybody. You know, that's why I had to reach out to you, Dennis, to let you know that the work you're doing is just unprecedented. It's fantastic. It's worked for me tremendously. You know, losing the weight, I'm so happy about that. I've dropped 2 pant sizes. You know, I've got to buy a whole new wardrobe now. So I couldn't be happier. I feel great. No more tingly toes, that kind of thing, you know, going on. And I really don't miss all the sugar. You know, now that I'm off of my sugar habit, I really don't miss it. And I really don't feel like I'm depriving myself any, because, you know, there's a lot of good food out there for the diabetics. You know, one of my worst problems was a sweet tooth come around midnight. You know, I'm a cookies and milk kind of guy before I go to bed. Well, I've replaced that now with strawberries and whipped cream or blueberries or something like that, and I'm just as happy. It you know, helps my sweet tooth, and I still go to bed and sleep like a baby. And you know, just the information that you have provided is just tremendous.
Well, that is awesome, Tyler. I'm so happy for you, and we get reports like this a lot.
Do you?
And, yeah, we actually get a lot of them. I'm kind of selective as to who, you know, I invite to be interviewed, and you seem like a pretty articulate guy just from your writing, and then when I talked to you, so I thought, okay, this guy would make a great interview, and you have. So thank you, Tyler, for sharing your story with everybody else. Got any advice for those who have just been diagnosed as diabetic? They're scared to death. What would you say to them, Tyler?
I would say to watch your videos. You know, your videos to me are so powerful. It's all about the power of knowledge. If you know what you're battling and what you have to do to fight it, that's tremendous. That is tremendous. And, you know, I just had to come out and tell you and everyone else that it has worked for me. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really do. You know, in my eyes, you're a savior. You saved my life, Dennis.
There's only one Savior, and it's not me, but hopefully I was an instrument in His hands.
Yeah, exactly right.
Jesus.
Exactly right. Yes, sir.
Well, Tyler, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you so much, and God bless you and give you a long, prosperous, healthy, happy life.
Thank you, Dennis. I look forward to more videos.
Wasn't that awesome? One of the formulas for a successful action movie is to have the bad guy do really bad, cruel, mean things in the beginning of the movie until the audience comes to really hate him. And then when the good guy demolishes the bad guy at the end of the movie, everybody is thrilled. And that's how I feel when I see people like Tyler Smith, who was bullied and beat up by diabetes, like so many of us were, and then he found out how to defeat this bully, and within 3 months, he had him lying on the ground crying like a baby. My friend, victory over diabetes is possible. In fact, it's not only possible, it is almost a certainty for most people if they'll take the necessary steps and make the necessary changes to their diet and lifestyle. So if you've recently heard your doctor use the D word in reference to you, don't be afraid. Do your research, find out what those necessary changes are, and start to make them. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up. The more likes a video gets, the more YouTube will promote it to others, and more diabetics will find hope from Tyler's powerful story. And consider subscribing to this channel, and then click that little bell icon so that you'll be notified every time we post a new video. God bless. See you again soon.